And Jai Hind students, I am Kanchan, your English teacher. This time I am just going to explain the chapter A Triumph of Surgery by James Herriot. So this is a story telling about the importance of physical exercise and then about the bad effects of over pampering or over diet, or you can say excess of everything is very bad. So here characters are Mrs. Pumphrey, who is an owner of a dog, and she is worried about her doggy, and her doggy name is Tricky, and the author is himself Mr. Herriot, and he knew very well Mrs. Pumphrey. Always she gave her doggy food items like chocolates, then milk, and then so many things that were very rich in calories and vitamins, and she was not keeping exercise, making him to keep exercise well. For that reason he was listless. See here, his eyes bloodshot, rheumy, stared straight. It means कि his physical condition was not well. His eyes were reddish and watery, and he was looking straight, and his tongue was there straight out of his jaws. When Mr. Herriot he saw, then he said Mrs. Pumphrey that did you cut his meals? Then she told that she cut it but little bit, and she is not so strict. Then he asked about the physical exercise. She told that you are seeing here that I am taking him for exercise, but my gardener is not well this time, having back pain, muscle pain. For that reason he is not making him to make exercise. So she told about all these things. Then doctor told that very soon Tricky will be ill, and this happened also. So I tried to sound saver. Here the narrator is saying that I was there making my sound, means he was a little bit strict there, and then he warned Mrs. Pumphrey if she is not going to cut his meals and if she is not going him to make exercise well, then very soon Tricky will be sick and he will not be well. Then this happened also. So as he was expecting, and then expected call came within a few days. Mrs. Pumphrey was much worried, and she told that he had bouts of vomiting and he is refusing everything to eat, and she told even his food items. So she told that Tricky has refused to eat even his favorite food items. Then the one solution was there to admit or to keep the doggy to Mr. Herriot's clinic, and then he suggested that Tricky has to be there to send to the clinic for at least, here is one word, fortnight means 2 weeks, for 15 days. And the poor lady almost swooned means became unconscious. She was about to unconscious, that she knew very well that she was not there to live without her doggy, and her doggy was there not live without her. She was sure, and but the doctor was firm that he will have to take doggy to his clinic to for the treatment. And then here the entire staff was roused and maids dressed. It is about the servants and maids who were taking care of Tricky, and they were keeping night bed. They were keeping with them night bed cushions, toys, rubber rings, many items they were keeping in their hands, and they were shocked, and they were worried also about the health of Tricky. And then doctor told that he didn't need all these things, but Mrs. Pumphrey had just given little coats through the window, and then doctor moved from there. When he came to the road, on the road, then he saw at the poor little creature Tricky, and he said that yes, I know the treatment for you. When Tricky came to the clinic, then many doggies were there as usual, because it was animals clinic, so many doggies were there. First they came to Tricky, but Tricky was there. They are keeping rest, and he was motionless. For that reason they didn't take interest in him, and they sniffed and they went back. And then here the doctor is saying that for 2 days I kept an eye on him, and he gave only a plenty of water for 2 days. So at the end of the second day, Tricky was aware about his surroundings, and he made a little cry softly. When then the next day he opened the door, and Tricky trotted. Trotted means ran outside with his friends. Friends means all other doggies. All other doggies were rolling slightly with the he was rolling slightly with his surplus. Surplus means extra fat in his body, and all the doggies, they were running to take their food in the bowls. And servants, as servant Tristan, he kept the food into the bowls. All the doggies, they ran to take their food first. They knew very well if they will be late, then they will not be able to take their food. For that reason they ran, and after they finished, then Tricky also went there. He was licking the shining bowls, because all the doggies, they had already eaten the food items, so he didn't find anything. But the doctor wanted this to make his stomach empty. Then he was active, and he was running, he was jostling, pushing, and he was there keeping exercise like. And the next day, means fourth day, he was there running, pushing, jostling, and fighting with other doggies. And he was active at that time, and he had to take his food by running and by making efforts. Then he was there improving well, and Mrs. Pumphrey was worried about, but doctor told that he was out of danger, and he didn't tell anything else. Then when she came to know that he was well, he was improving, then she was sending their fresh eggs, 2 dozen at a time, and then she was also sending wine to keep the blood enrich, to enrich the blood of Tricky. And then the doctor didn't give it to Tricky. Instead, he was taking all these food items with his companion. So here they were enjoying their days, because they were getting wine, they were getting eggs, and it was not required for Tricky. So after all, after 15 days, he had to call Mrs. Pumphrey to take her doggy to her home. And then as soon as she got the call, a 30 feet shiny black metal car was there outside the surgery, and the chauffeur opened the door. And then Mrs. Pumphrey was waiting for her doggy. She was much worried at that time, and she was asking, is he really better? Yes, doctor told, yes, he is fine. And he also assured that very soon he will be here. Then he went there inside in his garden, in the lawn, and where Tricky was playing among the doggies. He was a hard-muscled animal, and he improved well. He was active at this time. I carried him back along the passage to the front of the house, and he was in the hands of the narrator. And as soon as the chauffeur opened the gate of the car and Tricky saw his mistress, he was so happy that he took off. He made a leap from the arms of the narrator, and then he moved hurriedly to his honor. And then Mrs. Pumphrey was very happy, and she was shocked and surprised. She was startled. Oh, and then she was very happy. Tears were in her eyes as she was thinking that, oh God, I have got this doggy, my doggy, in a well conditioned way that she didn't imagine. Oh, Mr. Harriot, and she cried. She was very happy. How can I ever thank you? So, this is the end of the story. As we have read here, that she was much worried about her doggy and she was taking extra care. She was giving extra diet, that is over pampering, and this must be avoided. So, this is all about this story that teaches us that excess of everything is bad. We have to avoid it. Okay, students, thank you and Jai Hind.